After the federal election in 2020, you may have heard a lot of talk about new laws around voting, especially in Texas. What you can and can't do at polling places, how you were able to cast your vote, et cetera, et cetera. Well, we talked to Representative Lloyd Doggett to find out more about federal voting laws and what your rights are as a voter.
What changes in federal voting laws should we be aware of this November? Are there any new restrictions that voters should be aware of?
Well, in federal elections, as well as our state and local elections, most of the election law is state. And Texas has been ranked absolutely zero, last place when it comes to voting opportunity. Many barriers that are placed that are not in place in other states where you can register right up to election day easily, register online. Many of these things you can't do in Texas. Since the last few years, the Republican state legislature looked at around the state, and anywhere something was going well to increase voter turnout, they tried to interfere with it. For example, Houston did in the last election, they got a great turnout by doing 24-hour voting. So somebody who just finished their performances late into the evening or early in the morning could go in Harris County and vote 24 hours a day at any time that fit their schedule. And of course, many people who do work odd hours, this was helpful. And so the legislature eliminated that. They eliminated several other similar provisions to discourage some of this voting by people who perhaps had not participated before. I think as far as most folks are concerned, though, the big change was in vote by mail. That it's very important to sign on with both your driver's license and your social security number if you do vote by mail. And that can be important to one of our musicians who's playing out of state, knows they will not be here during election, that they want to vote by mail. I do that because I'm in Washington so off and on. And anyone who's 65 and older can vote by mail. So it's important to request a ballot early. And know that the U.S. Postal Service is not as dependable as it used to be, and to get a ballot in that way. Overall, I think anyone in Texas who really wants to vote has got about 3 weeks with early voting plus election day, and there's an opportunity to participate, and never has it been so important to do that as this year.
How and why should voters make a plan to go vote? What are some of the ways in which voters can make that plan?
Well, there are so many people who commit to vote and then things come up. The weather changes, there's an incident in their family, they get pulled away for one reason or another. So it's good to have a plan for voting. And really the first thing, of course, is to be registered. And our registration deadline is October 7th. This is not only about you as a musician, as someone who's an ally of musicians listening to our program, but anyone you know, to ensure that they are registered and that they are registered where they live. Folks move around a lot, and it's important to re-register in the precinct in which you live so as to not have any problem in voting. Then as far as a plan is concerned, we're approaching the date for early voting here in Texas. Early voting when you can vote anywhere in the county, and that begins on Monday, October 21st, early in the morning. So I always find it's useful for friends to get out and vote early. That voting continues until the Friday before Election Day, near the end of the month. But voting early when the lines aren't long, when it's a nice day to go out and vote rather than inclement with all the uncertainties of our weather here in Central Texas, that's really important. Make that plan and take some friends along with you to be sure that your friends, your neighbors, your family members are all participating.
And what can voters do if they actually feel threatened or intimidated at the polls?
Well, that's a problem this year because our Attorney General, Ken Paxton's kind of run wild in trying to intimidate some voters, particularly Latino voters, raiding one woman's house, a grandmother, I think at 6 in the morning. We don't know what might happen with that or some of the people that are called out for intimidation on Election Day. I think you can always call our local officials and our local Democratic Party, the Travis County Democratic Party. But one of the groups that I work with is the Texas Civil Rights Project. And they have a hotline that will be available throughout the period leading up to and after the election. And it's just at 866 excuse me, 866 Our Vote.
Mhm.
And so the Texas Civil Rights Program, 866 Our Vote, or the Travis County Democratic Party locally.
What would you say to people who claim that their vote does not count?
Well, Pat, someone I know you have worked with in the past, we have a great state representative in Donna Howard.
Mhm.
Donna was elected by 4 votes in Western Travis County. I've had some areas that I've represented as Republicans gerrymandered me all over the state where a local election was tied or was decided by 1 vote. This year is particularly important because we have seen the choice at the presidential level. It couldn't be clearer. It is about going forward or going backward. It is about whether we will stick with the system of democracy we've had or shift to more of a strongman, autocratic admirer of thugs and tyrants around the world, and a project 2025 that would interfere with just about every aspect of our lives. So I would say first and foremost, for those who don't think it makes a difference, it's made a big difference with reference to women's health care, not just the issue of abortion, though that's an important part of health care, but with reference to all aspects of some politicians thinking they know better than a physician and the woman whose life may be at stake. I went to the National Democratic Convention in Chicago, but I did not hear a more powerful speech from any of the elected officials, including some I greatly admire, like Michelle Obama, than the women from Texas who told the story of how their lives were endangered by the draconian abortion laws here in Texas. I think back as well to the meetings that you and I had and our musicians had during COVID. Having someone who was responsive when musicians were being denied access to unemployment benefits, when musicians faced difficulty getting access to vaccines, to health care. It's really important to have officials that understand the needs of our music community and respond when they have a problem. The whole venue legislation to keep our venues open was so important. I work a lot with HAM that provides health care. Trump and the Republicans have tried to repeal the Affordable Care Act again and again and again. The last time I went out to HAM, something that I expect is understandable by all in the music industry, most of the musicians and the sound engineers and the like that were out at the office were having their hearing tested from going to one concert, so many. And these are services that make a difference in the quality of life for our musicians and the whole music community. And I don't want to see them eliminated. I am concerned that our freedoms be protected, that our rights as Americans, our system be protected. And I am so hopeful that now that Joe Biden stepped aside at the urging of me and a number of other individuals, and that we do have a younger candidate who can do this job and do it well and be sensitive to our kitchen table concerns, as well as to preserve our freedom at home and abroad. That choice is very real. The other really big race here in Texas, where we have a chance with just a few votes to make a difference, is for United States Senator. And I think Colin Allred is an outstanding candidate. He is my colleague in Congress, a person of integrity, who does care about folks, in quite a contrast with Cancun Ted.
What are some of the issues that are going to be of critical importance coming up in November?
Well, not on the ballot by name, but in fact, is healthcare that I was mentioning. Will we continue to reach out and strengthen the Affordable Care Act? We provided some additional support in a Democratic Congress that expires next year. The premiums on health insurance would go up very significantly if Trump is successful in blocking that or in repealing the Affordable Care Act. Women's health care in particular, we need to pass the Women's Health Protection Act. It ought to be one of the first things that this Congress does. Educational opportunity, really important. We need to tackle the problem of immigration. I think it's blown totally out of proportion. We're not being threatened by an invasion. In fact, there are many workplace shortages that immigrants might help fill, but we need people to approach the border on a legal basis, not illegally. And so there are border security issues and immigration reform, protection for our dreamers and the like that need to be dealt with next year. And then the other real pocketbook issue, Pat, is your taxes, because next year, the Trump tax scam that did so much to help those at the top and not enough to help middle class working folks here, they come up for renewal. And that will be the big question. That's the committee that I serve on, where we worked on unemployment together back during the pandemic. But a survey shows that the largest corporations, the big multinationals that do worldwide business, paid a average tax rate of 7.8%. There are a few musicians here, a few nurses, firefighters, teachers who would have a rate even close to that. And it's just not right when we continually see multinationals and the best well-connected, wealthy people in our country paying a fraction of the rate that applies to a musician or a nurse or a firefighter. And I hope we see some change in that next year. The change will be in the wrong direction if we have a Republican takeover. We're only 4 or 5 seats away from have Democrats controlling the United States House, and the Senate may turn out to be a tie. So that's why that vote for Colin Allred is important, and certainly putting down a marker, whether we win Texas for Kamala Harris or not, but putting down a marker that in Texas, there are many of us that want a change for the better and are concerned about our future not being dragged backwards.
What's next for your office? What are some of the programs and some of the initiatives that you guys are focused on in the future?
Well, thanks, Pat. I really enjoy the listening because I have absolutely no musical talent, just the ability to admire those that do. And I love the fact that on any evening almost, you can find good sounds here in Austin. And I know supporting our musicians is what that's all about. In our office, I hope to work on a number of healthcare and tax issues next year, but I'm also working on many projects right here in Austin, trying to provide more trails for people to hike and bike on around the community, working to support our public schools, which have been under such threat from Greg Abbott insisting on vouchers and refusing to grant a pay raise, working on climate. Anyone who's been around here in the summer knows that summer is increasingly extending from the end of April to the beginning of November. We have to address and can address the challenge of a climate crisis that brings more disease, more uncertain extreme weather and the like, and that'll be a big focus of mine. And I'm always trying to recheck and be sure that my priorities in Washington are truly the priorities of people here. So always welcome people to go online, to follow me on Facebook, to sign up to get updates on the work that I'm doing, and to let me know if they have another issue that needs my attention, whether it's for one individual with a challenge or something we can do to make this wonderful place that we call Austin even better and stronger and providing more opportunity to more people.
Early voting runs October 21st until November 1st, and Election Day. Your last chance to vote is November 5th. Y'all get everything you need. Now get out there and vote.